get my attention and I'll call him. So, Chris, go ahead, sir.
Kelvin,
Here we go.
Kelvin, to clinch at least a share of the title with everything this group's been through, and first year in the league, what does it mean and what does it say about this?
We've just, way back in June, I don't think we ever really talked about the Big 12. We talked about what our June is like. Our June is getting our new guys. We're so used to losing 4 starters every year. Going in June, we had lost Jarris Walker, the 8th pick, Marcus Sasser, the 25th pick, Jamal Mark transferred, and may he rest in peace. We had a kid that passed away and that started a lot of games, so we basically lost 4 starters. So the last thing you're thinking about is a new league. You're thinking about replacing 4 starters. Then we had, a freshman in JoJo Tuckler, who we knew was going to have to come in and help us, and he did until, we lost him last week. And then J1, who's the ultimate warrior, he's still playing with one hand. He's got 7 stitches right here in the web of his right hand. Just split his web, and it's really, really sore. So we only kind of had half of him. Then Terrence Arsenault, tears his Achilles. Ramon Walker sprains his lateral meniscus. So we've had our share of injuries and adversity, but what we still have is our DNA. And that's could we escort her out? That's my daughter, by the way. But I think this is our 6th consecutive year winning the championship. That's where the DNA comes from. Our kids know how to win. LJ, because he's such a high character kid and comes from such a tremendous family, fit right in. Jamal was the clear leader of this team from day one, but his role had to change this year. Juan, it's his 5th year in the program. His role had to change. Then Javier Francis, he wasn't very good the first half tonight, but he was really good the second half. But there's, we have this thing called disruption points that we focus on, and we scored 22 points off their turnovers tonight. We scored 20 points on second chance points. That was offensively, we weren't very good. Free throw shooting, we might as well have been shooting blindfolded half the time. But what we've been really good at here for a long, long time is we know how to win the game. Some nights we play great, and we're probably not nearly as good as people think we are. And then some nights we don't play very good, and you're trying to figure out how to ever win a game. But the two things those things have in common is we win both ways, and that's important to be able to do that.
Jerome,
Two things. One, what was going through your head when you saw Francis on the floor? You not knowing the extent of it then, but talk about what he did when he came back in, a couple of dunks, block shot.
Yeah, well, I got on Jamal and J1 especially for the way he played. I said at some point, most, whether it was our Final Four team or the Elite 8 team or one of those other Sweet 16 teams, different teams we've had, our best teams have always been player-led. And I didn't think we were leading the first half. I think everybody was, that was an emotional, kind of a hard-fought game on Saturday. JoJo's surgery was this morning. He got moved back because the doctor wanted it done ASAP. So we had kind of a video thing with JoJo. It's like we were everywhere but the game tonight. But once we locked in at halftime, and I got on Maul and Juan about the way Javier played. What do you want me to do? Scream and fuss and cuss at him? No, why don't you do it? He's your teammate. You hold him accountable. And they did. And he responded. So really proud of Jay. Second half, we needed him. First half, we just weren't very good. Not taking anything away from UCF, but we didn't play with a lot of pop. Didn't have a lot of juice. But we went halftime not playing very good. We're only down 3. And then our transition defense took a sabbatical there the first 2 or 3 minutes of the half. But once we tightened our screws up, we know how to run our offense to the guy that's making shots. And I told Maul to keep shooting, and then when he missed 3 in a row, I said, well, maybe not. And I said, let's give number 4 a shot at it. So, but I'm being facetious. But when you stand over on the sidelines, sometimes when it's a slow game or a half-court game, you've got to be a little bit of an offensive coordinator. So you just call your stuff to make sure the ball's in the player's hands you want the ball in.
We'll go in the back, please.
Coach, here in the back. With the move to the Big 12, it's kind of united the city, the community around here. You've been here before, you played here before, you won here before. Did you see a different atmosphere tonight because of the move and what UCF?
No, not really. I remember we were here one year and they jumped on us 11-0, and this place was packed. I mean, it was packed to the rafters that night. I mean, it was ridiculous loud. So, no, UCF's had some awesome crowds when we've been coming in. I didn't think tonight was one of them. We've been here where the crowd's been louder, and but that's not to say this crowd wasn't loud. I mean, when they jumped up and got ahead of us there early in the second half, it got really loud. But they've got a good student group. They got those students right beside student section. Their students are really loud, and they're creative. Their parents would be glad to know that their English lessons are diversified.
Coach, you've gone head-to-head with Johnny Dawkins for quite a few years. A lot of people didn't expect much out of UCF in this first season of the Big 12. They seemingly outperformed expectations. What do you think of the job Johnny Dawkins has done this year?
I've been proud of Johnny, from when they beat Kansas here. Then they turned it around and won at Texas, beating Texas Tech here. They played Iowa State down to the wire on Saturday. This is a really, really, really difficult league. It's hard to win in this league. But Johnny's one of those guys, man. No matter who he loses or who leaves for whatever reasons, he always manages to put a good team on that floor. And we knew that we were going to have to play really well. Maybe not the first half, but the second half, we gutted it out and had to, because if not, then UCF would have won this game.
Chris, you got one?
Yeah, for Jamal and Juwan and LJ, what does it mean to each of you guys to know that you now clinch at least a share of the Big 12 championship?
Okay, you go first, and we'll go left or right.
I mean, it means a lot, especially when you look back to conditioning month. It makes all that hard stuff that we had to do worth it. And I'm just proud of this team. And yeah, I don't know what else to say.
I would just say, Big 12, the best conference in college basketball, so we know what we was getting ourselves into. But Houston been a winning program for a long time, so it didn't really matter which conference we ended up going in. Once we travel with our DNA and our toughness, I feel like we can compete with anybody in the nation. So it wasn't really a biggie, coming into the Big 12 and focusing on certain games. We just travel what we do, and we knew we was gonna be okay.
I just want to say I'm proud of my teammates. Everything that we've overcome with injuries. Coach isn't the easiest person to play for, but he pushes you to the best of your limits. Like LJ said, conditioning month and everything we've been through since June. We break out to Big 12 champs most of the time because, we speak it to existence. And I'm just proud of my teammates. And our journey here is a testament to what we're doing now.
Got time for a couple more if we got it. Go right here in the back. Back here in the back and then to the left.
LJ, you kind of took over the scoring there in the second half. I know you guys said the first half was a bit of a struggle. How much did hitting those threes kind of toward the end of the first half help kind of spearhead the scoring that you had in the second half to kind of help Houston get over the top?
feel like the threes in the first half had nothing to do with the second half scoring because you got to go back in the locker room and sit for a whole halftime. But, I mean, I guess it was good for the confidence. But Coach tells me to keep shooting no matter if I'm making or missing. And then once I got it going in the second half, Coach did a great job of putting the ball in my hands, and my teammates did a great job of just trusting me with the ball. And we went out there and did what we did.
Coach, you mentioned earlier your guys' ability to get second chance points, 20 of them. What would you say the team did the best to be able to score that many?
Well, I think for the last 6 or 7 years, we've been top 5 in the nation in offensive rebounding, because that's kind of who we are. You know, some teams that don't follow us will see that and say, well, how did you guys do that? It was, you know, it's part of our June, it's part of our July, part of our August, and we try to, there's 3 or 4 things we focus on in the summer that we want to be good at by the time we get to October. Once we get to October, it becomes habits. If something happens once, it might be an accident. Something happens twice, it may be a coincidence. But when it happens 3 or more times, now it becomes a habit, and that's what, as a coach, I try to create with this team, is to create habits. That get in the habit of going to the glass, get in the habit of getting on the floor after loose balls, get in the habit of standing in front of your man, taking away his strong hands. You know, it's just consistently creating good habits, and that's, you know, when you look up and your record is 27-3. We're not 27-3 because we have the best team. It's just because you're ranked number 1 doesn't mean you're the best team. We're ranked number 1 because we're ranked number 1. You know, there's some other teams out there that's just as good or better than we are. But that's for fans and media to debate. For us, you know, we kind of jump into our little cocoon and just stay true to our virtues and our core beliefs and our habits. And as long as you have good habits, they travel. You know, offensive rebounding. You know, we've had games where we've had almost 30 points on the offensive glass. It's easy to look good at home. Most good teams will win at home, but those championship-level teams, those are the ones that went on the road.
Now for one more question right here in the middle.
Coach, you guys were down for 27 minutes in this game, but you guys led when it mattered most.
Yeah.
What did you see towards the end of the game when you guys held UCF to a 4-minute scoring drought that your guys did better than the entire game?
Well, it wasn't Emmanuel's night, it wasn't Damien's night, it wasn't Malik's night. You know, there's 3 guys that we try to keep the balls in their hands. You know, Jamal has a lot of freedom and space, and he's usually a great decision maker. That's why I think he's the best point guard in America. But LJ, we've got 4 or 5 different actions that I can call for him, especially the second half, because I can be the offensive coordinator. I can make the calls. First half's a little bit different. The second half, I knew once he gets it going, we did the same thing Saturday in Norman with him. But, you know, he's gotten so much better with the ball in his hands and ball screen actions, pick and roll actions. You know, we were running some ISO stuff for him. Because if you're going to get fouled, you want your best free throw shooter at the line. But what I saw in this team is what I've seen with them all year long. There's a resilience about this team. There's a belief in each other. There's a belief in our program. But that's why when you think about it, I know I've said this many times, but there's a reason why. In our top 10 players, now think about this, top 10 players. Tonight we only had 6.5 really. But usually we have top 9 or 10 every year. In the 10 years we've been here, we've only had 2 kids transfer in 10 years that's in our top 10. Think about that. It's almost impossible in this day and age, isn't it? Think about how many kids transfer every year from programs. Some programs average 4 or 5 transfers every year. We've had 2 in 10 years in our top 10. 2. That tells you a lot about our DNA and our culture, but also the kind of kids we have and their parents. Our kids have tremendous, tremendous parents. They trust me to let me coach them. They don't bother me at all. And I get on their sons, but they're great kids. They're great young men, and I love them to death.
Coach, LJ, Jamal, thanks for your time.